On today's DNVR Broncos podcast, we're breaking down the position battles in the middle of OTAs. Is RJ Harvey the starting running back for the Broncos? Could Audric Estime make a push for that? We're breaking all the position battles down, and it all starts now. Training camp starts next month. Let's go, baby. We're going to talk about the Broncos on today's DNVR Broncos podcast, live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores. And we are the DNVR Broncos podcast. Ryan Koenigsberg, Henry Chisholm, we got you here behind the camera. And Zach Stevens rocking and rolling with you today. Fellas, how was your weekend?
Fantastic. Couldn't have been better. I did a lot of things. So Allie has her birthday this weekend. I almost outed her age. I don't know if she wants me to do that. Her birthday is this weekend, but that's also right in line with my yearly boys golf tournament.
Which one came first?
What do you mean?
Probably her birthday.
Well, yeah, her birthday did happen before that existed, but because Allie is the greatest, she didn't mind just celebrating her birthday a week early.
There we go.
So we went to couple bars on Friday night. We went to Meow Wolf on Saturday.
What'd you think of Meow Wolf?
I thought Meow Wolf was really cool.
Okay, I did too.
Yeah.
But I'm always curious because I feel like you could really like it or really not, and it's tough to tell who's going to like it and who won't.
It's cool. It was too complicated for me.
What was complicated about
There's
it?
like a story.
The story, yeah.
I couldn't get into it.
We didn't pick up on it quickly enough, so we were behind on the story.
So that was my one note was like, there was like a little video at the beginning that like didn't really set the stage. I feel like it should be like a 5-minute video that like fully immerses you in what your mission is.
Yes.
But maybe they don't want it to be so linear, you know?
That's kind of their thing.
Yeah.
Just confusing.
Yeah, which was cool. Like, you know, we enhanced the experience a little bit.
Oh,
I think I think I could.
Yes.
I think I could go for more enhancements
Okay.
than what
Yeah,
I
could see that.
personally went after.
Will you be going back?
With more enhancements.
But potentially.
Okay. Because that's the other
Potentially.
part. Is like it's kind of once you've seen it, the shock value.
Right.
Kinda
You'd have
wears
to be
off.
in a whole, different mindset
True. Yeah. Just
to experience it again.
differently enhanced.
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, that was cool. And then I did get a little golf in yesterday at Rain Dance National, which I personally can't recommend enough. It was really, really sick. Really sick.
Unique.
Yeah, unique, totally, one of a kind, really well designed golf course, great company, great weather.
No enhancements needed for that one?
Depends.
Maybe a different type of enhancement.
Yeah.
Henry, did the Rockies just crush your soul even more this weekend?
Wow. So actually, the thing is, I don't think I made money betting against them this weekend. Because I mean, it's kind of hard to make money at this point because the sports books have it figured out. But like Saturday, I needed the Mets pitcher to get one more strikeout. And so it was kind of painful when they pulled him, but there was no need to keep him in. So it was the combination of not winning my anti-Rockies bets with the fact that Rockies aren't winning.
Yeah.
That sucks. But today, though, is the day to bet on the Rockies.
To win.
It's once every like week or two, I pick a game where I'm like, I think they're going to win this one. Fun fact, they are 3-0 this year after 8-game losing streaks. And they've lost 8 in a row, which if you do the math, this 9-50 team has 32 losses just in 8-game losing streaks, which is kind of crazy to think about.
What's also crazy is that's just the first 2 months of the season.
Oh, yeah. There'll be more. And if they win today against the Marlins, which it's there. It is there.
Never been a good place for us.
No. But again, like it's a bottom 5 team in baseball.
Yep.
So if you're going to get a win, it would add up. You have that. Also, it's why they're only plus 165 though.
It does feel like they are due for a new rock bottom. Like, it's been
Yeah.
a couple hours. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
9-game winning streak would be a new rock bottom.
Losing.
Yeah, yes, 9 games.
Yes.
Sorry, I want them to lose, so it feels like wins.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think they're gonna lose. I think they're due for that. I also looked it up yesterday, and this could probably be the end of Rocky's talk, but the all-time record for longest winning streak is 26 games. If the Rockies went on a 26-game winning, 27, and set the record, they would still be 13 games under 500.
It's insane.
It's not good.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and probably 25 games out of first place.
And like I was on the Rockies pod on Friday. I was like, you know what? They are playing better. Like they're no longer just losing by like 5 or 6 every night. It's all these like 1-run losses that stack up and you're like, okay, it's functional. But then this weekend they kind of just got blown out. And the one thing I'll give them credit for is, there's always like the wins above replacement. It's a stat. Well, they've started getting rid of their players and just replacing them. And it's worked out. So now, like, their number 1 hitter, number 2 hitter, number 3 hitter, they all just weren't on the team like a couple weeks ago.
That is crazy.
Because when you're so bad, you just go get the replacement level guys.
One more fun stat. If the Rockies were to win every single one of the remaining games, they still would not be the greatest team of all time in terms of record.
That's tough.
That's how bad it is. We're only 2 months in. That's how bad it is.
many
Really
games
quick,
back?
want to give some shout outs before we dive into this Broncos talk. A shout out to Allie for an early birthday coming up.
Yes.
And today, a shout out to Dre, a staple of this community.
Amen.
It is his birthday. So happy birthday, Andre. This is a good time to be alive now, guys. We're in June.
I love June.
Me too.
Summer
good about
just
June.
feels like it's all ahead of you.
Yep.
Weather is starting to become pristine.
Yep. Today's
month.
really nice. Don't look at the rest of the week, though. You're not going to like that. And speaking of the rest of the week, Broncos are back at OTAs starting tomorrow. They've got OTA practices Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Media is expected to be out there on Thursday, so we'll be giving you all you need to know from Thursday's practice on Thursday, where we'll also be out at Coors Field with the Rockies. Not with the Rockies, with the Broncos out at Coors Field for the Healthy Swings. So make sure you can actually get tickets. Go to Rockies.com/Healthy Swings to be out there. There's going to be so many stars out there. We're going to be out there too, doing a show, giving you a recap of OTAs and having so many interviews. So make sure to stay tuned. That's going to be it's going to be a fun, it's going to be an exciting show Thursday night. But let's dive into today's topic, where we're looking at position battles. Kind of heading into OTAs, in the middle of OTAs, where things stand right now. We kind of have the benefit of seeing one practice, but we can't talk too much about practice, so it's more so of a where do things stand right now with position battles, heading into mandatory minicamp next week, heading into training camp, and let's have this conversation just by throwing out all the position battles that are on this roster, because obviously there's no position battle for quarterback, finally, thankfully. So let's just focus on, let's throw all of them out that are position battles right now. Henry, where do you start?
Well, I mean, I just start at the top. Quarterback, not a battle. Running back.
Did he not listen to me?
Sorry. I was thinking, Angel made a funny joke in the chat about eating a banana to celebrate Dre. And so then I was thinking about those bananas, the blue ones that he wants to try. And that would have been a great time for it.
Would have been a great time.
Yeah.
So Ryan, I'll ask you, since you were listening to me, where do we start here with position battles?
Not quarterback.
Running back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think running back's really interesting. And I just saw a comment, it's already been buried, but it said, like, if RJ Harvey doesn't start, that was a bad draft pick. And I just couldn't disagree more. Look, when you draft someone as high as you drafted RJ Harvey, you want them to be an immediate contributor.
Yeah.
And he's obviously going to contribute. But if Audric Estime were to win the starting job, it would say great things about your coaching staff and your development and also
true.
your scouting from a year ago. So I don't think it has to be that black and white, that just line in the sand. Like, it can also mean good things. He's also a rookie. Everyone kind of develops on a different path. Mm-hmm. And so if it took him till, let's just say, week 6 before he really hit his stride in the NFL, that's totally fine. That's okay. As long as you like what you have in Audric Estime and he's performing well.
I'm right there with you, and that's the reasonable approach. The one reason I'm not totally convinced is that, like, you have arguably the worst running backs room in the NFL. Like, Mike Clay from ESPN does his, like, rankings. He says they are the worst running backs room in the NFL. And a second-round pick in the worst room in the NFL, or arguably, we don't need to get into the details, you would think that guy would start. But I think that your approach is definitely more level-headed and reasonable.
Well, and what he's ranking there doesn't factor in potentially if Audric Estime took a big leap forward this offseason.
If Audric is better, then you're up higher.
He's going into his second season. It's not like it's, we know what we have in this guy. You know, like he's very much still on the upward climb in his NFL career. So I get the point of, yes, he was drafted to potentially start and probably to start. But there are other factors that could play into this that could make it so it's not necessarily automatically a bad thing if he doesn't.
Yeah.
It would be disappointing, I think, if he doesn't start. And I don't want to be like so cut and dry. Let's say week 2 he starts, or you said week 6. If he's starting the majority of his rookie season, that's what I'm talking about right now. So week 1, day 1 starter. If he takes over at some point, that's okay. But I'm with Henry here. The Broncos had the worst. Let's just look at last year. They had the worst running back room in the NFL. Wasn't even close. Their leading rusher had 514 rushing yards with Javonte Williams. He's now gone. So you have the worst running back room in the NFL last year with supposedly the best player, I mean the starter for most of the season, not on that team anymore. And then you use a top 100 pick, which Sean Payton has now only done 4 times on a running back. You use that guy should definitely be the starter. So I don't write him off, his career. I don't write his career off if he's not the day 1 starter week 1. But man, it would be disappointing, especially because we've seen how these other guys that Sean Payton has grabbed in the top 100, Reggie Bush, Alvin Kamara, and Mark Ingram, how they've all turned out. Probably even as their rookie year. And it's not something that Sean just takes these guys and some of them work, some of them don't. No, they all work out.
Yeah, but they're not like, what if Audric Estime is Mark Ingram and RJ Harvey's Alvin Kamara?
Yeah.
And then in that case, like, again, like with Sean Payton, you don't really have just a straight up starter. It kind of depends on how you're starting each week. If you're starting, shotgun and you're flexing the running back out, then it's your speedy little receiving back. If you're starting heavier, then it's going to be the other guy. And like it's that 60-40 split where, again, if he's part of that 60-40 split, that probably is good enough, especially right off the bat, even if you do see a little bit more Audric the first week, then maybe it bounces back and forth the rest of the way. But I don't know. It's different when you're not just having...
Really quick, when I say starter, I don't mean the person that's out there on the first play, because you're right. Sometimes, there's instances where, Cortland Sutton doesn't technically start a game because they wanted Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims on the field at the same time. Cortland Sutton's still the starter. So I'm not getting into, the specific one play. I'm talking about when you... The main guy, the main running back. That's
it. Just comes down to game planning, though.
This just goes into my broader take, which is that I think everyone's sleeping on Audric Estime, and I don't think. I think that it's very common in the NFL for people to write the book on a player after their rookie season, and I hate doing that. So I am still high on Audric, and I think that he has a really high ceiling. And so I'm thinking about this more. If Audric realizes his potential. He's still a year ahead of RJ, and he's actually probably younger than RJ. Then that's still a positive thing. If he goes out there and rushes for 120 yards in week 1, no one's saying it's so disappointing that RJ Harvey didn't get more carries.
Yeah, no, and let's continue this conversation after I give a shout out to our friends over at UC Health, where, guys, they've got the Healthy Swings Home Run Derby coming up this Thursday at Coors Field. You can get tickets over at Rockies.com/Healthy Swings, and it's going to be an awesome event. We're going to be there. It's their UC Health Healthy Swings Charity Home Run Derby with players like Cortland Sutton, Alex Singleton, and Marvin Mims are going to be at Coors Field to raise money. UC Health has donated over $900,000 to local charities over 6 iterations of this home run derby, supporting Coloradans with food insecurity, cancer screenings, and veterans' mental health challenges. This year's beneficiary is Freedom Service Dogs, where Freedom Service Dogs provides service dogs to individuals with limited mobility, young adults with autism, veterans, and first responders to help with disabilities like PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, and more. So if you want to learn more about UC Health, go to uchealth.org for more information. UC Health, live extraordinary.
And Toyota. We're big Toyota fans here. June is a lot of fun, but it turns out June is also a time when there's like booking flights and all that stuff. Because like Lexi there's like weddings or trying to go camping up in Montana or trying to get to 4th of July in Minnesota. The thing is, all the different plans for the summer are just better with a Toyota. If you're going camping, hauling the kayaks up there, the all-new 2024 Tacoma is obviously an awesome answer. Actually, where we're trying to go camping is up in Glacier Park, but it's on like there are less people over there, and so the last hour of it's just like this skinny little dirt road, which is why a lot of people don't even try to get up there because it's really tricky. But all these Toyotas would be perfect for that exact drive, which I'm just connecting right now. But if you're not an off-roader, then they've got all the different hybrids and more fuel-efficient zero-emission vehicles. Those also could get you up there, probably some of them. But they have more of those than any other car maker. Whole bunch of perks of Toyotas, and if you want to check them out, you can visit your Front Range Toyota stores, the location near you: Auto Nation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places.
And shout out to everyone in the Toyota chat rocking and rolling with us. Hit us with a thumbs up and tell us what you think of this conversation. We're going to go through many position battles on today's show. Let us know who you think is going to win the job and where things stand. So I want to ask you guys, is RJ Harvey going to be the week 1 starter? Is he going to be the main guy come week 1?
This is hard because
This is Harvey.
It was my favorite draft pick. But I'm also the leader of the Audric Estime Believers Club. So because I know what both of you guys are going to say, I'm going to say that Audric is a starter.
Wow. Henry, you going to agree with him?
I'm struggling because I think week in, week out, it's just going to come down to game plan. I think that it's just, is this a week where you want a power guy? Even like leaving first snap out of it. Do you want more of a power back? Are you going to spend more time trying to throw the football? I think week 1, you're trying to limit mistakes. I think you say we're better than the Titans, and if we go out there and just play good, clean football, we're going to do enough to win. Which would lead me to believe Audric Estime is the answer, other than the fact that the one big problem right now is the fumbles. And so that's what kind of throws a kink in it. I still think I'm going to lean Audric for week 1 just because that style of play probably makes it a little bit easier to win. Just because the unpredictability of pass game, all that sort of stuff, I don't think you should need it against the Titans. But I think it's tough.
Y'all are sleeping on RJ Harvey.
No.
RJ Harvey, well, no, a couple of things. RJ Harvey is a power guy. RJ Harvey is in between the tackles guy. RJ Harvey is a guy that's going to be able to catch passes out of the backfield. He's going to be able to run outside. He's going to be able to run inside. He is your do-it-all running back. Now, saying that, Sean Payton, even when he has an Alvin Kamara, even when he has a Mark Ingram, he still uses a 2-back system. So it's not going to be 90% RJ Harvey. But RJ Harvey can do it all where it's not, I don't think it's going to come down to game plan for Sean because RJ Harvey can do it all. And I just think that he is that guy. Sean Payton does not, I already said this, doesn't draft guys in the top 100 unless they are absolute studs. RJ Harvey is that guy. And I think, I agree with you. I am not out on Audric Estime at all. I think he's the number 2, and I think that's actually, we need to start having that conversation about, okay, who's the 2 then? If, let's say, Audric Estime is the 1, I would imagine RJ Harvey is the 2 then. Are we writing Jaleel McLaughlin off too quickly as well? Blake Watson, another guy in this room, but I think that RJ Harvey is special, and he's a guy where it's not like he just had 1 year at UCF. No, he's been a dude for multiple years now where he is ready to hit the ground running, and I think he's going to, not in a bad way to Audric Estime, I just think he's going to run away with this job because he is that special, and running back's a position where you can hit the ground running week one. So I think that Sean realizes he's special, and he's not going to be afraid to put him out there as a rookie week one.
RJ Harvey is 2.5 years older, 2 years and 5 months older than
Pretty
Audric
crazy.
Estime, which is crazy.
Yep. And again, I'm just seeing so many comments that are just out on Audric Estime based on a very limited sample size in his rookie season. And I think that part's being forgotten too. When you drafted him with the thought and the idea of like, we're getting an incredibly young player here in a ball of clay. And so if he were to break out this year or even next year, it would be like a rookie hitting based on how young he is.
Totally. 100%. And speaking of Audric Estime, let's hear from Sean Payton last week. He was asked about Audric Estime, where he wants to see him step up. And here's what Sean said about him. And pay very close attention, because I want to see how you interpret this answer from Sean. Let's hear from Sean.
Yeah, year two for him, just running style, his physicality, the things that got him drafted, the things that we saw. A little bit harder for him last year for a handful of these guys. I don't want to say the grade was incomplete, but they just didn't have enough. He's a back that requires enough touches. He's going to get those opportunities.
That last part there, guys, he's a back that requires a lot of opportunity or a lot of touches, and he's going to get those opportunities. How do you take that? Because how do you take that?
I take that as they think he's ready for the next step and they're going to feed him the ball. To the more philosophical point he was making is like bigger backs generally are more successful the larger sample that you have, especially within the course of a game. You wear down the defense trying to tackle you all game. And, if you are in tip-top shape and you don't get worn down over that course, then by the end of the game, you have a huge advantage over a defense who's been getting, popped all day by such a big back.
Totally. And everybody benefits from it. If you get Audric out there just hitting and hitting and hitting, and then let RJ Harvey go run, a lot easier to break a big one. But I think, there's something there. I think that quote is huge because it made me wonder if this isn't a competition. I came into this saying RJ Harvey is going to be one of your two backs. And maybe it's the 60%, maybe it's 50, maybe it's 40, but he's going to be one of those two. And at the end of the day, it'll work itself out from there. I thought there was a big competition for that second spot. I think even Tyler Badie, who has only been a great football player at every stage of his career. He was an All-American at Missouri. First touch with the Broncos in 2022 is a 26-yard touchdown, a catch. Last year gets on the field again and has 11 carries, averages 7.8 yards per carry. So that's all the data you have on him is All-American, one catch, 26 yards touchdown, and 11 carries for 7.8 yards per carry, which makes you think that maybe he would have a chance to actually get some run here. But that quote just makes me think, if he's going to get those opportunities, there you go. He's going to get those opportunities. He's got to be one of the two.
So I'm glad you said that because a lot of people took it that way. And when I digested the quote, I took a step back, and I don't think it's Sean saying, yep, he's already penciled in for X number of carries week 1 through 5, and he doesn't have to do anything to get them. I think this is Sean saying he's going to have the opportunity to get the starting job, to get the backup role in OTAs, in training camp, in preseason. I didn't take it as far as like, just count him in right now because of what you said. That Tyler Badie, heck of a player. Anytime he's healthy and got an opportunity, he's been good. Blake Watson, people were high on him last year. The Broncos were high on him last year. Jaleel, talk about a guy that has really produced every time he's touched the ball outside of Tyler Badie, and Badie only got 11 carries last year. Jaleel McLaughlin had the Broncos' highest yards per carry for the running back position, 4.4. It's not incredible, but it'll get the job done, where Audric Estime was 4.1, Javonte was 3.7, Blake Watson 2.5. So there really is just wide open for the taking here. Like, it would surprise me if Jaleel was the starting running back. It wouldn't surprise me if Jaleel or Tyler Badie or Blake Watson's the number 2 running back in this. I would say personally, I think RJ Harvey's a starter. I do think Audric Estime is going to be that backup. And then, man, the Broncos probably carry 4 running backs. That 3 and 4 spot wide open, but certainly that 1 and 2 spot isn't locked down. I personally think the 1 spot's close to being locked down, but that 2 spot, I mean, pretty darn open here. And I would give it to Audric, though.
So going back, so there's the 3 top 100 running backs for Sean Payton. None of them led running backs in touches for their team as a rookie, which is kind of interesting. So Deuce McAllister in 2006 had 274. Reggie Bush had 243. Mark Ingram got hurt as a rookie, so only played 10 games, but finished 3rd behind Darren Sproles, Pierre Thomas. And then Mark Ingram had 288 and Kamara had 201 as a rookie. And again, like, it's a little bit different because the leading back on all those teams had been a Pro Bowler at that point.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe at least early in the season, you do see a little bit more of Audric. And honestly, maybe it isn't even Audric.
For sure.
I think it is, but it might not be.
When Jaleel, I don't want to sleep on Jaleel either because I
True.
felt like he made things happen more than maybe any player on offense last year. Obviously, Bo made a lot of things happen, but it felt like when he got the ball, I felt like there was a chance for something big to happen, and I didn't feel that way about a lot of players last year. So, you know, as he continues to grow into his role in the NFL, I still think he's a valuable piece.
I think the tough part with him is that we've just seen so much of him that these other guys feel like wild cards. We're like, hey, what if Tyler Badie actually is a really good running back because that's all he's shown? Or what if Audric Estime, the tape is so small on him, like Sean said, like he doesn't want to call it an incomplete, but haven't really seen enough to get a good grade on him. With Jaleel, we're reaching the point through 2 years where you're like, maybe he is what he is. And what he is like a solid running back, but not somebody who's like, if he's not in the rotation, you feel like you're missing something. And it might be too early to put him in that box. Like if he adds more as a receiver, that would be where things really open up for him. Because like you said, he had more yards per carry than Audric last year, but yards per touch, they were the exact same. Because as a receiver, Audric actually produced more yards per catch than Jaleel did with those opportunities. Which is just like, you wouldn't have expected that. But if he does add that one more thing, then maybe that's enough where he gets unlocked and you start looking at RJ Harvey is a guy who's running more between the tackles, and Jaleel's the guy who's maybe being more gadgety. But I think that's where there's just a little bit less excitement now because there's 2 years of information on Jaleel compared to some of the other guys.
I just want to quickly go back to something you said earlier about how no rookie has led the team in touches when it's under Sean. No rookie has gone into this situation where the job is wide open. Like Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram was still on the team. Alvin Kamara is a rookie, a 3rd round pick, had 1,500 yards from scrimmage. And so that's exactly what Mark Ingram had. They had 3,000 yards from scrimmage from their running backs last year, or as a rookie, which is just insane. Off the top of my head, I want to add it up what the Broncos running backs had because it was nowhere close to that. But I like this conversation, and I think it's like you said, Ryan, and like you said, Henry, running back is definitely where all eyes are going to be when it comes to the competition heading into training camp. And thank goodness that it's not the quarterback position, because if you don't know who your quarterback is right now, and it's not a rookie like competing for a job like Bo was last year, it just means you're not going to be very good.
Yeah, you're basically just out
Yeah.
So true.
without a miracle.
Yep.
Yeah. Did the 49ers one year have a competition? I'm not sure if they did. Like when they made the Super Bowl, like Jimmy Garoppolo, he was just the starter all the way through. And the other year with Brock Purdy, they made it. It wasn't a competition. It was just the other guys got hurt, so he got the chance.
Yep.
So they were never muddy. Same thing with like the Eagles. It was just Carson Wentz.
What about Vikings with Darnold last year? Was there? I guess it was going to be a competition, but then JJ got hurt.
Yeah.
So probably not.
But it was a competition where Darnold was, I don't know if like named the starter. So maybe it wasn't. I don't know where that stood.
Yeah.
But the Broncos don't have to worry about it. And it's so nice to not be thinking about that right now. As much fun as it is, it doesn't mean good things. Let's continue to the other side of the ball, talking about another rookie after. Give a shout out to our friends over at First Bank, where whether you're on the road, at home, or somewhere in between, First Bank makes banking easy, convenient, and secure. Their mobile banking app allows you to check balances, pay friends, and manage your money anytime, anywhere. And here's the best part. Open a new First Bank checking account today, and you can earn $300. First Bank is all about helping you stay on track. Their tools make it simple to stay in control of your finances without the hassle. No matter where life takes you, First Bank gives you the freedom to bank how you want and when it works best for you. So if you're ready for better banking and the chance to earn a little extra, head to efirstbank.com/bonus. That's efirstbank.com/bonus to open your account. Bank how you want, when you want with First Bank. Certain restrictions and requirements apply. Member FDIC. And again, if you want a better banking experience and a chance to earn a little extra, head to efirstbank.com/bonus.
Also, shout out to our friends over at Shady Rays. No matter what you're doing this summer, make sure you keep those eyes protected and make sure you're looking stylish as you can with all of the different options that Shady Rays has. Best part is they're always polarized, and that's not even polarizing. Everyone knows that polarized is better. It's not really up for debate. So keep your eyes protected. Keep yourself looking stylish. You can, be out in brighter conditions. So there's a lot of advantages of being with our friends over at Shady Rays. But even better is that you can get 35% off polarized sunglasses when you go to shadyrays.com and use the code DNVR. And if you don't love your shades, you can exchange for a new pair within 30 days. No risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Shadyrays.com with code DNVR for 35% off polarized sunglasses.
And we appreciate everyone in the Twitter chat that has our back and that has hit us with the thumbs up, that has said hello. If you're listening on the podcast side, hit us with a 5-star review. We appreciate that a ton. All right, guys, let's go to the other side of the ball. Broncos' first-round pick, Jahdae Barron. Is he competing for the CB2 spot or the starting nickel spot right now?
I would say starting nickel.
You agree, Henry?
I mean, right now, I think they say, it's all open. We'll see where the competition goes. I would say it's more likely that they want Riley out there. And if that's the case, they'd want Riley on the boundary. And that means Jahdae is playing with Jaquan. Yeah, one of them for the nickel spot. I'd say eventually that's the point it gets to, but right now I don't think that they have anything set in stone.
I think it's the nickel spot as well. Especially I think that's where he's probably most comfortable right now, but then taking it to a next level, I think they love his versatility and not just being able to play inside outside, but him being able to blitz from the nickel spot, him being able to defend from the nickel spot, him being a willing tackler and a really good tackler from the nickel spot. So I just think that that's where he's going to be right now. And I would be not disappointed, but I have high expectations for Riley Moss. Yeah. I mean, I think when healthy, he is that dude on the outside. Now, the thing, I know the Broncos also think he can be elite in the nickel. So maybe it's just like they think that the combo of Jahdae outside and Riley inside is better. I just don't think that's going to be the case for this season right now. I think he's really going to take over that nickel spot and earn it. And I also think that Riley Moss is just going to be such a good outside corner that it's just not going to make any sense to try to put Jahdae out there.
Yeah, to me, it's as simple as what's the best three that you can have out there.
Yep.
It's Pat, Riley, and Jahdae. And
Pat Riley.
Wow.
Pat Riley.
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
There's no Pat Jahdae.
No.
Those are your top three. And I think that Jahdae's most natural position is at the nickel. And especially for a rookie, that's where I want to play him, is at his most natural position. So it's also, in my opinion, the hardest position on the field for defensive backs. But to me, you kind of just throw them into the fire and say, like, this is what you're going to be in the NFL, and we expect that you're going to be elite at it. So let's get started.
Yeah, and then I think with Riley, the contract ends after next season, and I think that's kind of your timeline for Jahdae to move outside. Because when it comes time to decide whether you want to pay Riley or not, I think that that's where Jahdae is a big factor. Because right now, like you lose Riley for a game, then it's great. You have somebody who you can try out there, or if you really want to, you could see what Chris Abrams-Drain could do. But you'd imagine you want Jaquan on the field before him. I think that this year it's just let's get you on the field in a position where we think that you should be able to excel. You keep Riley on the field in a position where you've been working him and you aren't all of a sudden moving him around as much. And then next year you start to wonder, would we be better off letting Riley walk, saving that money, and then bumping Jahdae outside where you'd have, at that point, 2 years after Riley of cheap football. But right now, I think nickel probably makes the most sense. But again, like you have training camp for a reason. If he goes out there and is just locking everybody down, there could be circumstances where you want to try him outside, maybe sticks.
Man, that's such a interesting thing to think about. If Riley Moss goes out and balls this year, do you extend him after this season because he'll be eligible?
Yes.
I would agree. But then how much are you willing to extend him for? Like, depending on how the season goes, that's just a fascinating conversation to have. You know who the forgotten guy is in this secondary? People have not forgot about Jaquan because it's like, oh, man, he just lost his job. So he's always brought up. Chris Abrams-Drain, he had a really promising rookie season. It was like if the Broncos were going into this season with him being their third or fourth cornerback, oh my gosh, I'd be happy about that. I'd be really excited to see him out there when the Broncos go for cornerbacks on the field. Now he's your fifth cornerback. Got to be the best fifth cornerback in the league without going through every roster. But he's a guy where I wouldn't be surprised if he starts pushing guys for time either.
Was he also injured during that Browns game?
I don't think so. I think they just had Levi Wallace next up. Like you go to the vet, try to patch things up before you go to the whatever.
And then Levi
sixth
got
round,
benched
fifth round
for CAD?
Yes, and then he got benched the next week.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you need depth, as was evidenced in that game.
Yep.
And so even if you feel like your fifth corner deserves more time, there's a good chance, and I'll touch wood because you hope it doesn't happen, there's a good chance you're going to need him at some point.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%. Okay, let's continue to look at other position battles. Guys, I'd probably go back to the offensive side of the ball and look at receiver now.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it's a weird one. The good news for all of them is that Sean Payton uses the depth at receiver more than maybe any other coach in the NFL. So even if you lose the race for wide receiver 2 and wind up wide receiver 5, the difference in snaps may not be that big. So I think that's a starting point. But I don't know. I could see this changing a lot over the course of the season. I think that Marvin's obviously going to get a chance. Troy's going to get a chance. Devaughn Vele is going to get a chance. Pat is going to get a chance. I guess it's probably those 4, unless Trent Sherfield comes out of nowhere. Undrafted rookie, you probably don't see him at least immediately getting a shot over those other guys unless something crazy happens in the preseason. At the same time, though, you know, undrafted rookie, how different is that than Devaughn Vele as a 7th round pick last year who nobody expected to get drafted? You know, there's a tick more interest from the Broncos in that guy. They were willing to use the pick, but I don't know. I think it probably does just come down to those 4, and honestly, any order would not surprise me.
I'm penciling in Marvin as the number 2. I think someone can take it, but I think he's the number 2. But the guy who I want to lock into a top 3 wide receiver spot for the Broncos is Devaughn Vele. We saw him be Mr. Automatic last year. He did everything the coaches asked, and when the ball was thrown his way, he caught it. What was it? First game of the season for a 7th round pick, 8 passes thrown his way, 8 catches, not only went for like 43 yards, but still, he did everything asked from him. Last week, something that really jumped out to me was how built he's got over this first offseason. And you see that a lot with guys. That's when you're really supposed to take that next step with your body, is in between year 1 and year 2, and he has done it. Guys, he's looking a little Cortland Sutton to me. Last year, he was like a very skinny, young Tim Patrick type of body, and that's okay. He can stay like that. I kind of thought he was going to stay like that. He's looking built now, and his route running, at least in the one practice we got to see, was crisp. And we know Sean Payton loves big wide receiving cores. You have Cortland Sutton on one side, you have Devaughn Vele out there on the other side. Now, it was just one practice, but in that one practice, he took that big step up from being a good receiver last year to maybe really good receiver, a great receiver for the Broncos. I think he's a guy that he is going to be on the field all the time for the Broncos.
And I think that's what makes it tough is that like you like having those big receiver looks. So I think it's easy to say like, well, it's either Devaughn Vele or Pat Bryant who kind of competing for that big receiver spot. And then it's Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin competing for the speed spot. The thing is, you might see Troy Franklin on the field more with Marvin Mims because you want the speed look, or Pat Bryant with Devaughn Vele. So I don't even think it's really the competition. I don't think it can be narrowed down to Vele versus Bryant and Franklin versus Mims. I think it's just who shows the versatility to show up in all these different packages. Because you go in there every week and say, hey, this is what we're trying to run in the passing game. Who do we want out there to run these things? And you might find that, hey, we like Devaughn Vele on this route and this route and this route. And because of that, you just see him show up more often over the course of all these different things you're throwing in the game plan. And again, that was the next step for Marvin Mims. You know, we know he has the deep ball. We know he has the screens. It's just adding more in between. And if he adds the more in between, then there's no reason he can't be a receiver too. If Devaughn Vele becomes like this downfield threat where you start having to worry about him down there, then that kind of rounds out his game where you could say he could play every down. Troy Franklin seems to be like a step away from that. And then Pat Bryant, you just have no idea. Because arguably he was at his best downfield in college. It's just that when you look at the 40 time, he projects as more of like the in between the numbers guy, and he was great at that too. So it's luckily for Sean, there's a lot of options, but it's tough to figure out right now what all these guys are going to be.
I think the question more comes down to who do you think out of the receivers, because Evan Ingram will probably be first or second in catches. Who do you think out of the receivers will end up second in catches?
So you're saying Cortland's one?
Yep.
So last year, Devaughn Vele had 41. Marvin Mims had 39. Lil Jordan had 31, then 28 for Franklin.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Devaughn Vele this year, number 2. I think Marvin Mims is going to have
more yards,
yeah, and maybe even more yards than Cortland Sutton. I think he's going to be that much of a threat, but I think it's going to be Devaughn Vele, number 2.
Who's Marvin Mims like comp? Who do you think like, oh, if Marvin Mims can be this guy for the Broncos, it means that he's like fulfilled his potential and become a real player?
I go back to like a smaller Debo, which again changes how Debo plays quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of like the areas in the field where you want to use him, the run after the catch, the speed, but that's not a great comp. It's just the first one that comes to mind.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I'd have to look around the league.
Yeah.
The only reason I say it is because he's to this point been a gadget guy.
Exactly.
Now, Debo, I think, is a great comp because he's like a superstar gadget guy. Where it's like he's so productive that you can't put that gadget name on him, but he's used in a lot of gadget situations.
I don't know. I think he was that at the beginning of the season. I think he became a deep threat receiver at the end of the season. And I don't think Debo is a deep threat receiver. I just look at the last 4 weeks of the season where he had, the last 2 weeks of the season where he had 4 touchdowns and 2 of them off the top of my head that I remember. The Bengals game, incredible catch.
Contested catch.
Down the middle of the field. And then that contested catch at the end of the game. And then I think of the play against the Browns, a 95-yard touchdown where Bo threw the best throw of the season, maybe in the entire NFL, and he took it and ran. I think he's that type of guy. So, some people in the comments are saying Tyler Lockett, Emmanuel Sanders. I don't think I think he's more of a big play threat than possession guy.
Yeah, more straight line than making those breaks too. It might be Deshaun Jackson. It might just be that simple. It's like great returner, deep threat.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Would love that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And that's why I think.
And the reason I ask is like if you have Deshaun Jackson, you're expecting him to be your one receiver in terms of like production at the end of the year. Obviously, the Broncos are in a different situation, but
Probably not catches, though.
Probably not. But, 1,000-yard receiver, is that where you think he's headed this year?
I would take whatever odds someone gives me and say he gets 1,000 this year.
I don't know if they still have these things listed already, but I would guess that his over-under on receiving yards is sub 650.
I would
So
agree. Yep,
you
I was
could,
going to say 600.
You could
Yeah.
probably make some good money on that.
It just comes back to, can he be more productive in the middle of the field? Can he get those easy catches where he gets to add yards on top? Because say he doesn't, and he's just this great deep threat. Well, then all of a sudden teams are like, oh my goodness, we can't let this guy beat us. We have to leave a safety on that side of the field, which is still an awesome outcome for the Broncos, but it means the yards might not be there for Marvin because you're focusing on eliminating that, which just means the ball's going elsewhere. So yeah, like he's another guy who was just super young when you drafted him. So if he does figure out just the middle of the field, that would totally change who he is as a player.
And, of course, not sleeping on Troy Franklin. I think he's going to take a big step from year 1 to year 2. The guy that Sean points to is Marvin taking a big step from year 1 to year 2 as a reason that Troy can take a big step from year 1 to year 2. So certainly not sleeping on him. Ryan, your eyes just got wide.
I found a market. Marvin Mims to have 1,000 receiving yards plus 400.
Love it. Love it.
4-1.
I mean, if he gets to like 70 yarders,
He's
get you
going
up to
to
140.
Didn't he get
Needs like
250
40
plus
a game.
yarders in the last 2 games of the season?
He did do that.
Actually,
Yeah.
in one game, he had almost 250 yarders. So, yeah.
I'm shocked that I was able to find that.
Yeah, that was impressive. Good find. I love that personally. And then Ingram, too. Like you said, he's going to factor into this as well. Wouldn't be surprised if he leads the team in every category. Catches, yards, touchdowns. I think he's going to be that big of a target for Bo Nix. And wearing number 1, I think it fits well because he's going to be the number 1 target for the Broncos, I think.
That'll really throw a wrench in the gears of the wide receiver production.
It will.
If he's 1,200 yards and 100 catches.
Man, it'd be incredible.
Yeah.
I would love to see it.
I would too. Let's go to other position battles that are happening after I give a shout out to what we got going on. If you want all of our coverage of Nuggets, Rockies, Avs, Buffs, Rams, and of course, your Denver Broncos, you can get that over at thednvr.com, the best place for all of your Denver sports content. We have got, you get a free t-shirt when you sign up as well. And if you join us, make sure to say hello in the Toyota chat where we are going to have you rocking and rolling all throughout the summertime. So we'd appreciate it if you rocked and rolled with us and come and watch the finals here at the bar. We got some cool things lined up for the bar for this summer too, so stay tuned for that. But shout out to everyone that's tuning in with us. We really appreciate every single one of you. All right, guys, where are we heading after receiver?
Wow.
Offensive line feels pretty set, unless you think something's going to happen at center.
I think tight end could get interesting.
Tight end 2.
Yeah, because I mean that's a guy who's going to be on the field a lot. And Evan Ingram really does factor into the receiving game. The first question they have to ask is, okay, Evan Ingram, say 75% of the time is going to be playing out of the slot. Do you pair him with a tight end and put a tight end in there, or do you pair him with another receiver and say we just have these 4 linemen and game in, game out, you have to make those decisions. And if you say we want a tight end out there with him, help with the protection, make us more of a run threat, all of a sudden those slot receiver reps get subtracted. But the tight end would obviously be a blocker. So I think Troutman is probably the pretty obvious answer. Could Nate Adkins, Lucas Kroll, depending on, again, what you're trying to do on that play, I think that gets tricky, especially given that you do save like $4 million if you move on from Adam Troutman.
Yeah, and I agree there. Lucas Kroll had a big catch last week.
Yes.
All right.
OTA magician.
I don't think there's much more up for debate, which I think is a good thing for the Broncos.
Yep. Yeah, across the entire board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like some reps competitions on the edge for sure, and interior.
Yeah. I mean, edge, it comes down to, you imagine your starters play 2/3 of the snaps. So with Jonathan Cooper, so Nick Bonito, you want all the pass rushing snaps you can get and then filter in whatever else. Jonathan Cooper, you probably want all the base defense, heavy type package reps you can get and then filter in the pass rush. And so that means that you probably have a pretty even split in what's left over between pass rush snaps and base defense snaps. And whether Jonah Ellis is capable of taking all of those, I think is where the conversation starts. And in that case, it's like a 2/3, 2/3, 2/3, all of it adds up. But if they say we want Dondre Tillman to be our run stuffer for Cooper, then all of a sudden Ellis is just a pass rusher.
Yeah. So those are like competitions, but it's more preference
Right.
Totally.
than anything, and situation based
Yes.
stuff, rather than like there's a spot here and you guys are battling to get it.
Yep.
And I think where there could
And you got to factor in the 2 rookies too, to see if they can, crack the
True.
rotation and steal some snaps from somebody.
Well, and I was just going to point to the rookies as well and say where a competition in the middle of training camp and preseason and throughout the season could open up, and this might be really good news if it happens, is at outside linebacker with Q Robinson and at defensive end with Savion Jones. If those guys step up and force a competition, that would be tremendous news for the Broncos, whether it's with John Franklin Myers and Savion Jones, whether it's with a Jonathan Cooper and Q Robinson. Now, Q is pretty raw, so probably not going to be competing for that number 1 spot on the outside opposite Nick Bonito. But if he could compete with Jonah Ellis, who had a very, very successful rookie season, that would be such good news. And I don't want to write either of them off in their rookie season yet, despite being a late 3rd round and a 4th round pick. What I've seen from these guys in the 2 opportunities we've had to see them, rookie minicamp and then the first day of OTAs, I've been so impressed with Q's get off at the line, and that is such an important thing that you can't really teach with an outside linebacker. And then with Savion Jones, that size and disruption that we've seen in very limited opportunities. Savion Jones was destroying guys in rookie minicamp. And Q Robinson, I think I said it on the show right after of rookie minicamp, he would have had 7 sacks or so in that very first rookie minicamp practice, which was only an hour long. He was a monster. So if these 2 guys are able to push someone, a veteran, man, that would be awesome news. But I can't sit here right now and say that Q is going to be pushing. It isn't an open competition with Jonathan Cooper. No, and Savion Jones isn't an open competition with John Franklin Myers either. But if it comes to that, man, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And then that's how this draft class goes from like really good, assuming Jahdae hits, assuming RJ hits, to one of those all-time draft classes of like that, what was it, 2017, 2018 that Sean Payton had, that he just continues to talk about, as he should, because it was a heck of a class.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Savion Jones, probably just defensive line. So he's probably, you're hoping the John Franklin Myers backup.
Yep.
So you have Roach as the,
DJ Jones.
yes.
Guy.
And then you hope Zach Allen plays just about every snap like he did last year. But yeah, that's good. And then linebacker, I think, is the other interesting one, because you have your 2 starters, but Sternad or Drew Sanders being the next one up, especially considering, I mean, neither of your starters are able to be on the field right now. I think that competition gets really interesting.
Yeah. And Justin Sternad has only gotten better every single year of his career.
Yeah,
Totally.
that's why it might be a competition. I don't think it's a competition personally. I think Sternad is the number 3 linebacker on your team right now. Obviously, it's clear 1, 2 who those are. 3. And then I think there's a competition between some undrafted guys, some younger guys with Drew Sanders. Look, it's not a good sign when you're sitting here, Drew's going into year 3, and they just keep bouncing you around.
Yeah.
It could mean that like you're so talented that they want you all over the field, but likely you haven't found a home yet, and they still see the talent, so they're like, man, maybe he'll actually work inside now. But they bounced him outside last year. Now they're bouncing him back inside. It's typically not the best sign. That's why I just think, and like you said, Sternad had a great season last year. Literally like played like a starter when he got that opportunity. He could be a starter somewhere else right now. Instead, he's your backup. That's a really good backup to have.
For sure.
It is.
And I think it says a lot about Justin that he's survived multiple coaching staffs.
Totally.
Usually late round picks aren't that way.
Yeah.
You have to really kind of prove yourself over and over and over again. And it gets harder the less familiarity you have with a staff. And so now, he went through, he was kind of like Vic Fangio's guy.
Yeah. And
Now-
he got hurt
Yep.
that rookie season.
Yep.
And Vic didn't lose any faith in him. Then went through Hackett. Now with
Had some bad games early on in his career.
didn't play defense for 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And then once he got the opportunity last year because of the injuries, he did step up. He's also a guy where this shows you how much the Broncos like him. They gave him they doubled his salary from last year to this year. He's making the minimum last year, $1.2 million. This year, he's getting $2.5 million. So that shows you how they feel about him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think the other one, then you go to the third down package. where you say, okay, you've got all these guys on the line of scrimmage. You're playing that like who's coming, who's going game. And you have so many players who are really good at. I mean, that's where Drew Sanders right now is a really good player. Like his first snap back this year, he got a sack because you had him rush up the middle, and it's like green dog blitz, where if the running back stays in to protect, you get to rush. If he goes out in the flat, then you got to cover him out there. And those two things Drew does really well.
I was going to say that should be his calling card.
But then also Jaquan, Jahdae, Tauno Funga, also great at that. Line him up on the line of scrimmage. That was when Brandon Jones came to the Broncos. The Dolphins fans were okay with it because they said, well, all he really does is just blitz. And so that's also what he is so good at.
Wow.
You know, Alex Singleton, also good at that. Dre Greenlaw, you'd imagine good at that. So Vance Joseph also has to go through and figure out, okay, we get to pick kind of 4 of these guys or 3 of these guys and figure out what we want to do. Because you could take a big guy off the field in those situations. You could go with all 4 of them if you wanted, just because Zach Allen, Jonathan Cooper, Nick Benito, John Franklin Myers, like they're all good rushers. So that's the other kind of piece for Drew in particular is we know you're good at that, but are you good enough that we'd rather have you on the field instead of one of these other guys?
And by putting you on the field, we're telegraphing a little bit.
A little bit, yep.
Big
Right.
time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we've known, I mean, Alex told us at the Super Bowl that Drew had now moved inside. I think that's the very first time any of us had heard that. Then Sean came out at some point in the offseason and said, yes, we're moving Drew back to inside linebacker. So that was made clear. Then Sean was asked again by probably someone that doesn't follow the Broncos as closely as us, is Drew an inside linebacker? And Sean said, yes, but he's a pressure player and made it very clear that that is his role. So we know he's an inside linebacker. We know he's a pressure player, according to Sean. So that means exactly, he's that exact role. Now he has to prove that he is good enough to earn a roster spot for that because he is not by any means guaranteed a roster spot right now.
And at the same time, you knew that this was going to be a process because he's a guy who never really had a position. I wrote the story on the website over the weekend. Go check that out. But he was the number 13 recruit in the country. He was the number 1 player in Texas. He was also the number 1 athlete because there literally wasn't a position. This was his stat line from his senior year of high school. He had, on offense, 38 catches, 734 yards, 12 receiving touchdowns. He had 43 carries, 357 yards, 11 touchdowns. That's like 8 a pop. He had 5 touchdown passes because he played some quarterback too. And then defense, where he actually played in college. So he went to Arkansas, outside linebacker 2 years. Or sorry,
He went to
Bama,
Alabama.
outside linebacker for 2 years. Cracked the rotation as a freshman, never put up crazy numbers. Then went to Arkansas to play inside linebacker and was an All-American in his 1 year there before being drafted. Defense in high school, 54 tackles, 21 tackles for loss, 11 sacks, 37 hurries, scored 2 touchdowns on defense. Like, he did literally everything. And even in the NFL, he's kind of gotten bounced around. So you knew he was going to take some time. It's just eventually in the NFL, like you just got to make the field or not.
It's such a interesting study in like jack of all trades, master of none type of thing. Like he's yet to master any of those trades.
Yeah.
And I think he's absolutely capable of it. We know that the athleticism and all of that is there. I'm hoping that focusing in on one thing and just letting him put all of his energy into that will be a positive for him.
Man, and I really hope that's what they do, and that they don't, in training camp comes around, they bounce him to the outside or
someone
have him
gets
playing
hurt.
bull.
Exactly. Like, we have
Please,
reps for you
no.
here. Yeah.
We've seen it with too many guys.
Yep.
I mean, Baron Browning's another example. It's to talk about talented. One of the top recruits, he went and signed with Ohio State, has a good career at Ohio State. They kind of move him inside and outside, but the talent is there. Then he comes to the NFL, and the Broncos do the exact same thing with him. Bounce him
DeMarcus
around.
Walker.
DeMarcus Walker's another good one at a different position. It's like, you just, it's not a good sign if you're still being bounced around right now. But hopefully this is the last time they bounce him around. Okay, any final ones you want to get to? All
Get these super chats.
right, let's hit this.
That second kickoff returner spot, because again, like, you know, Marvin's going to be back there, but the kicking team decides who returns and who's not. That's why Traymon Smith returned more kicks than Marvin last year. So I don't know who that's going to be. Like, the list is just so long. Like, it could be Jaleel, it could be RJ Harvey, but Troy Franklin is fast.
Yeah.
I have no idea where you go there.
That's going to be a Darren Rizzi decision. Does he want a big guy? Maybe an Audric Estime fits in there because then he can kind of be the fullback and you can have Marvin get most of those catches. Or Do you want it to be just 2 fast guys and Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims? Oh my gosh, that would be dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean,
to
this
see
is also
as
a place
kicker.
where one of those running backs that we've talked about could
Totally.
crack the, Blake Watson or
I think Tyler Badie's returned
Tyler
kicks
Badie,
for him. Yeah.
Yep.
Jaleel definitely has.
And let's dive into the super chats. Aiden Garcia says, Zach, I can see you putting in work. How fast did you run? Oh, thank you. Yeah, I did a little 5K over the weekend, and I'm not in running shape. But it was fun. It was supported Northern Colorado Humane Society. So,
Nice.
Yeah. Raised over $100,000 that event did. So
Wow.
That's
very, very cool. And final one, appreciate you, Aiden. Final one coming in from Sean English. He says, sup, fellas, finally got my diehard subscription. Let's
go.
go.
Welcome to the family.
We got him. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back tomorrow. I think we're going to have a very interesting conversation that you're not going to want to miss. Don't want to reveal what it's about, but I think it's going to be good. So stay tuned tomorrow, 11 a.m. We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.